Good afternoon. My name is Donovan Carter from the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program. Today is October 22nd. It's just before 1:30. We are here in Bradenton, Florida at the Back to Angola Festival. And today I'm joined by
Ronan Hart.
Adolfho Romero.
And today we have the honor and the pleasure of interviewing.
My name is Jason Brown. I'm a cultural archaeologist and the descendant of the Angola settlement.
Wow. So thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Brown, Jason. So my first question to you is, you talk about your work as a cultural anthropologist.
Archaeologist.
Archaeologist, sorry.
Yes.
Cultural archaeologist. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, pretty much my background. First of all, I'm retired military, and as I knew that eventually I was going to be transitioning out of the military, so I began to seek and educating myself as far as cultural resources. It was something like a passion that I had. Starting off just kind of plantation hopping and cemetery hopping, learning more about the Southeast environment. I kind of fell in love with it, and then it kind of spilled over into the Caribbean aspect of it, and learning more about that. And then it kind of tied in. I knew definitely my family's historical background is out of the South and out of the Caribbean. So just kind of learning more about my own self through that kind of sparked, and what you see today is pretty much the result of all that seeking and being autodidactic as far as learning.
Wow, that's amazing. We're gonna get back to that a bit later, but and your journey to kind of Angola Festival. But can you tell us about when and where you were born? Where you grew up?
I was born in Miami, Florida.
Okay.
Attended American High School. I just want to shout out to the Patriots.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got to add that in. My classmates. I just want. I grew up in Miami Gardens. I am a product of Miami Gardens, Florida. Proud of that. My family, they're out of Liberty City, by way of the Bahamas to Liberty City and Miami. So that's pretty much the migration pattern, and I'm very, very proud of that. We come from very, very humble beginnings. They always promoted education. I'm a product of that, and I'm very proud of that. So that is a very, very good piece. That one of the things that my cousins, they highlighted, they touched on it a little bit, the seeking of education. And if you know our parents, and it's funny how they told the story of how our grandparents are, and how strong of a presence our grandparents were. I too had that, even though we were across the Atlantic Ocean from each other, but the same. We all grew up under the same key, under the same music. Everybody, it was all synonymous, and even the way that the grandparents taught, the sternness. If you do something wrong, pow, they were very, very serious about the way that they went about our learning and how we took in the information and importance that we took in the information. For example, my grandfather, who is Shadrach Lewis, which is the third, he's the third great, he's the second great grandson of Samuel Lewis. I am the fourth. Just like my cousins, I am the fourth generation. Okay, so we have a clear understanding of that and how that trickles down. We're all in the same generation pattern. And it was refreshing to see all that and to see where we are today, and to see how the tangible and intangible cultural material transition through us. The oral history, I too learned from the oral history from my grandparents. My grandfather, he let me know where I came from. He mentioned Angola, but he did not know the name. He knew of land out west. He said that we had land, we have land out west. In his mindset, in the way that he was given the information, is that we have land out west. That he wanted me to know that, and he wanted me to know and have understanding that we are from the Bahamas, and that there was significance about us. that everything that we did and how we interacted and even how we married, he's like, there's significance. There's some significance. No, you don't understand. You don't understand. There is some significance in how we do stuff. There's significance in, like there's a spirit of excellence. There's a certain way that we did things, and he was very, very serious about it. And so which is carried out. I see it through my cousins, and even in Daphne, we see it. We do everything at a certain level, and that's because of what you see as being descendants of those that landed in Red Bay. That landed in Red Bay it carries over in everything, and even the artisan piece. Our hands are very, very important to us, and how we do stuff. The ability to do multiple things. We're the jack of all trades and the master of none. We do it all. And it spills over into our DNA. I have more than one job, as I say. Being an archaeologist is just one aspect of it, just one.
Jason, I have a question. Can you tell us a little bit more about your genealogy? I know you were saying that you're doing a lot of research right now, also focusing on that. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Understanding the story, understanding the places, putting it all together, it's like a plane crash. Ready? You find a black box and you reconstruct everything. That is my role. That is my goal. And understanding how everything comes together. What are the missing pieces? Putting it all together. And that is. I feel like that is my goal, along with my other cousins, and just having a good layout in how how we got here today. Me becoming an archaeologist, I had no idea that I was going to go this route, but I listened to the little small voice in my ear, and I really believe it's the ancestors that's kind of guided me. So how would a kid like me end up working the same site that my ancestors dwelled on? Every day that I worked that site, under the direction of Dr. Uzi Baram, I asked the soil to talk to me. What do you want me to know? I asked the environment, what do you want me to know? Why am I here? What every day I remember the feeling. It was a somber feeling, but I knew that I had an assignment. So I was there under assignment. That everything that I went through, that it was specifically for that purpose. And I just find it very, very remarkable. I just find it, just a very, very remarkable piece. You can't make this up, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely. So could you talk about...
So I hope I answered your question, so, okay.
Yeah, how your, life got started in that arena. Where was the site that you mentioned? Was it here in Angola, or was it back in Red Bay? Or?
As far as yes, the Angola site. Yes, it was the Angola site. So that particular journey started with an email inquiring, because one of the catalysts that kind of helped put everything together is Vicky Odom, along with Daphne Towns, and their roles and what they played. So me meeting them and actually being formally introduced to them and understanding what I did, they knew how important it was for me to be a part of what's going on with the Angola settlement and being a part of the Angola settlement. And the idea was, hey, since you're archaeologists, how about working on the site? There's going to be a project coming down the line. Mm-hmm. And why don't you get involved? So I sent the email out to Dr. Baram. They asked me for my CV. At first I was like, oh man, they're not gonna pick me, But I didn't, because I'm so humble, and it's like, nah, they're not gonna pick me. And then they see it was like, it's a no-brainer. you know, you got one of their descendants that's actually going to work the site, you know, and boom, and so be it. It from that point on, man, it was a magical experience. Yeah.
Wow. So what were some of your findings at the Angola site?
We found whiteware. Whiteware is just basically broken pottery for that particular era. We found some remains as far as animal, animal remains that they use as far as, eating and things of that nature. Found other small artifacts where they found coins of that era.
Coins.
And when you get a chance, you can go over to the museum and you'll be able to see some of the artifacts that we uncovered.
Wow.
But yeah, everything within that time frame. Yeah, that's what's important. So a jackpot.
Yeah, that's amazing. Have you done work in Red Bay, or do you know of
No, not
archaeological
yet.
work in Red Bay?
Not yet. But one of the goals that I'm going to take on is actually doing a terrestrial survey over at Red Bay. So what is a terrestrial survey? It's basically just walk the land and start identifying, marking, cataloging different things, make marking notable sites, getting the actual GPS coordinates, recording those GPS coordinates of certain sites based off the oral history. I want to find all the cemeteries and the notable people that are buried within those cemeteries and cataloging them. These are some of the things that you do as a cultural resource expert. You know, just making sure that all those pieces that. These are some of the things that you want to do, and highlighting it and actually recording it so they can be recorded properly and identified with the local government and things like that. So they need to know, especially the cemeteries. They need to know where these cemeteries are. Just in general, they have to know. Okay.
What would you expect, or what would you want to find in Red Bay? What are some things you
like I just said, the notable sites. Where they landed, the who, what, when, where, how, why. Anything that's notable, anything that you want to take historical significance, even writing and putting a marker there, a plaque there signifying the significance of that particular location, but identifying these specific places.
Gotcha. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I hate to use the word production, but what I guess would you want to come out of all of this work that you do?
Let me see. I want a lot.
That's okay.
I want a lot. Even to the point where UNESCO designation as a historical site. I want the story to be told in the history books. I want the story to be told via a movie. I want it all. We deserve it all. This is a story that has it's American history. Mm-hmm. It's American. It's Caribbean. It's Caribbean history, and it's Black history. And Black history is American history. I'm gonna say it again. Mm-hmm. Black history is American history. So I want it all. However we can document it, and under every media, whether it's through video, through text, through social media, I want it all.
When I was reading about the Black Seminoles and all this history, all the way to Angola, I had the same thought that should be a movie.
Yes.
Like from Prospect Bluff and Fort Mose and all of the history is incredible.
Yes.
So I'm curious how, before this became your career, how did you first learn about this from your parents? Is it something
my grandfather, like I said, my grandfather, he mentioned it. And then I was working for a firm, New South Associates, located in Stone Mountain, Georgia, under Dr. Joe Joseph and Mary Beth Reed. And once again, if they see this, I want to say thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to, and you guys taking me under your wing and teaching me about the techniques of archaeology. the principles of archaeology. I want to thank them. Yeah, definitely. I'm sorry, I got a little sidetracked. What was that question again?
It was, but before this became your career, how did you learn about it, and how did it feel to learn about it as a kid?
I'm so sorry. Okay, so I was at a lunch and learn at New South Associates. We started doing a series of lunch and learns. Where during lunchtime we would have different speakers come in. They were just, working for New South is just such an educational experience. You're just with some great minds when you're working with a bunch of anthropologists and archaeologists, writers. You're just around a bunch of great minds. And so we began to have this series of lunch and learn. So it was one particular gentleman that came from New College, but he had a 3D recreation of the Angola settlement. He created a 3D model of and I wish I had the gentleman's name, so please forgive me.
Is it Ed Tennant?
Say again?
Ed Tennant?
I think that's his name.
Oh, I know him.
He is, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I met him. He was affiliated with UCF for a time.
Right. He was.
Gonzalez
so he had, it's out there. The information, his videos are out there where he does the 3D model. But one of the projects that he took on was the 3D model. So here I am, I'm sitting in this lunch and learn, and I'm freaking out in this lunch and learn. I'm just freaking out, getting just goosebumps, and I just couldn't sit still. And I kept looking at my colleagues, and I didn't want them to think that I was crazy. You know what I mean? I just kept like, dude, I know this. I know about this. I know about this. It's like, I know what he's talking about. I know. And I went to him after. I said, hey, man, I know about it. And he said, yeah, this is Angola settlement. And from that point on, man, I started doing the research and, just started finding out more information about it because my curiosity, my DNA would not let me rest. And sure enough, that was it. That was my folks talking to me, and letting me know. And they put me in the right place at the right time to get the information. Like I said, you cannot make this stuff up. It's weird to me. It's really, really weird because I always see myself as just this regular dude, you know what I mean? Just regular life. But you know what? Now that you kind of see your life does have a significant role, even you guys, doing the interview, why? How did you get here? Why are we talking about this? But you guys have your place in life and have your place in recording and stuff, helping people record it, getting this type of information. So everybody plays their role in this universe, and I get it now. I get it because I'm a conduit of it, So, yeah.
Thank you for that response, Jason. So my question would be, what are some of the challenges when doing this type of work, uncovering the past, and how can interdisciplinary disciplines work better together as a cultural archaeologist? How can you work with other departments better, or who does it take to make this role happen?
Oh man, okay, all right. Some of the challenges that you have, first of all, you're talking about American history, and you see the injustice that's associated with it. Oh my God. Right. Just that injustice piece, and part of it hurts, you know what I mean?
Right.
Part of it hurts, because even, when my cousin Wilton was talking, he talked about poverty. You're talking about poverty from being in Red Base, the poverty, but you look at the story and you look at the timeline and you see the injustice and the history that's associated, that can be a little problematic, and it's something that needs to be discussed. We're a generation, we are the children of the survivors that survived, that survived it, and let it be known it was a raid, it was a massacre. You know what I mean? It was over 300 people that lived on Angola. 97 made it. Some others were captured. And others died. a lot of people didn't make it. So there's a piece, and if you know your history and you know how it all took place, there's an injustice piece that plays a role, and so that can be a difficult point. That can be something difficult, especially when he said their kids are hungry, and because those there is a piece in there where people were robbed of their of what they had, and so that piece is there that potentially needs to be discussed a little bit later on if there are some willing minds that have the courage to tackle that. And there was another question that you had.
Yeah, when it comes with, as a cultural archaeologist,
Yes.
what other departments do you work with to make these projects happen? And can we improve on that end to work more
Other
connected?
departments, obviously the local cultural departments, local universities play a large piece in this, especially with the grants and funding to actually do some of these things. But getting them involved, getting that local cultural piece involved, I think that's a good thing that can kind of help. There's anyone that's affiliated with the National Park Services, anyone that has affiliated in these stories, I think they need to partner up and continue on to tell these. Especially, I thank God for the series that you guys are putting on. Oh my goodness, Freedom Seekers! Just taking that, man, that is a phenomenal thing. And look where you are today. Trust me, you got some material there, and so. Those are the things to think about when pertaining to that particular question.
Okay. Yeah, question. So it's I study history, so I'm really caught
Awesome.
up on, especially I love the 19th century.
Awesome.
And these intersections of the escaped enslaved people
Yeah.
and Native Americans fighting against slavery and colonialism and negotiation between empires.
Yeah.
It's complicated history, but it's so
Very complex.
It's relevant to today.
Yes.
It's extremely relevant for something that I feel like so few people and so few Americans know about. So I guess it's what do you wish more people knew? If there's like one thing out of this history that Americans generally could just like get into the popular consciousness about this story for you, what do you think that would be?
How, just overall, make sure that it is part of the quilt of American history. Mm-hmm. Just making sure that these stories actually are continue on with our quilt. United States is a patchwork. Mm-hmm. And you can't, beautiful thing about quilts. Ready? You can make a quilt as big as you want it to be. You can keep adding on to that quilt and keep adding on to that quilt. There is no rules in how big you can make your quilt. So making sure that we get everyone patch into that quilt. Some patches may be a little big, some patches may, but making sure that that patch is on the American quilt and not excluded, and it has its place, and that we keep it there. We embrace it. That we embrace our stories. We embrace it. Rather than there are going to be some ugly story. Every family got an ugly story. Got an uncle in the attic. Everybody got an uncle in the attic. So making sure that we tell these stories and tell even the uncle in the attic. Even his story needs to be told, because I assure you there's some PTSD that's associated with the uncle in the attic. Just kidding. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
So a few more questions.
Sure.
So I kind of love what you said that about, the not excluding people from the quilt of American history.
Of American history.
So as you know, kind of Florida black education or black education within Florida, I should say.
it's been attacked. Yeah.
It's getting challenged and, going through some different fights and stuff like that. What do you want the kid from Miami Gardens to know about Angola? Like, despite all this, what do you want?
Me being that kid from Miami Gardens, I didn't know anything about it. It was just, it was oral history, but I didn't get it through my education at all. But making it come through the streams of education, I think it's worthy. I think it's good American history and Florida history, But Florida is a very, very unique place. You have to understand how, in the conception of Florida, Florida has always been a hotbed where you wanted Africans and natives to be pushed out, and even the whites that helped. Trust me, even the whites that helped, they suffered. Trust me, there are some heroes that of European descent that played a strong role, and they came here and they believe in freedom. They helped and they suffered demise too. They got it too. So just understanding that whole full scope and ready and having it in full context. Having full context that that the road of freedom seekers, let me tell you something, everybody was involved. Everybody was involved. From the Native Americans, from the Africans, and from the Europeans that were involved that actually played a role, Yeah.
That's awesome. So I want to go over to kind of Red Bay now.
Yep, let's go to Red Bays.
So, earlier we heard about the fishing tournament and we heard, boating and fishing still goes on. But is there like a greater cultural tourism in Red Bays?
Oh yeah, well, Red Bay is a natural resource, period. Andros is just a natural resource, period. And just understanding how significant Andros is, as far as being just a natural resource and the things that they have, with the fresh water, the deep, what is it called again, Daphne? The blue hole. It's just a unique place. In the ecosystem itself is just a unique place. So that's one. And then you add the historical piece to it. I don't know how it has gone so long, which is the biggest island within that chain. And it's, and it has not been, how to say it, just as it hasn't, the significance of it really, hasn't really been captured yet, for the most part, you would think. So, but what do you do? But definitely, definitely you want to keep it preserved as much as you possibly can. Not only the natural resources of it, but also the historical resources that are associated with it, without bringing in big commercial. You know what I mean? And bringing in big corporations. So what do? You want to make sure you maintain it as much as you possibly can. So, there's two sides to that sword. You know what I mean? So, definitely you want to make sure that you do it right when it comes down to Andros and the Red Bay community within that. Yeah.
And you talked about your cousin, Mr. Wilson, and
Wilton, yeah.
Oh, Wilson, sorry. Talking about mentioning the poverty there. What else do you know about kind of the economic situation and dynamics in Red Bay?
Well, everything evolves through the tourism. The tangible cultural pieces that my cousins, the basket weaving, the textile, the wood carving, all those cultural pieces that they highlighted played a role into helping as far as bringing in money and things like that. So you have the natural resources, and so now you have some of the tangible cultural items that my cousins they create with their hands. So though that has significance as well, and understanding how that plays in that whole economical system, and keeping people fed. I think that's a good thing.
And so, in part of doing these interviews, we've gone up and down, throughout the U.S., but also a little more specifically up and down, like some of the East Coast, Southeast Coast.
Yes.
So we've done some interviews in like Charleston, and Hilton Head, and
good stuff
out there. So and we kind of come across a lot of ancestors who come from the Carolinas and the Caribbean, Georgia, like, so we know of like the Gullah Geechee peoples.
Yeah.
So I want to know if you know perhaps of any either connections or parallels or similarities.
They're all connected. The Carolina coast, the Bahamian coast, the Florida, going down to Florida, they're all connected. Man, and genetically, culturally, if you notice basket weaving in the Carolinas look very, very similar to baskets that are being produced in Andros. If you ever listen to folks that speak in Carolina, they sound very, very similar to the folks in the Bahamas. So understand, understand that connection, that coastal connection that the Carolinas, the Gullah Geechee, and there's some even genetic connection, and also surname connection, because I'm a Lewis, but there is also a group of Lewis that come out of the Carolinas, and I haven't figured it out yet, but I got a funny feeling that Sammy left out of Carolina. He beat, he, as they say, he had on track cleats and he got out of there. So so I'm so curious as to the story of Samuel Lewis prior to 1821. I want to know that piece. I want to know where he came from. I want to even know who was his parents. So those are the things that I'm really baffled about, and I've tried to find out who is Sammy Lewis, prior to 1821. That's what I want to know.
Thank you for that. I have a question on that a bit later, but I want to ask about how kind of your family, the Lewis family, and later kind of like the Brown family. Do you guys have like family reunions ever? Or like, how would that?
No, and it's funny that you say that, because this morning I woke up and the idea that I think what I'm going to introduce to the Lewis is that we make the Angola Festival our family reunion. So that's what was spoken to me this morning in my quiet time, was that October, the third week of October, is our family reunion. It's automatically a family reunion, because I'm gonna tell you right now, all them Bahamians that I sat around this weekend, we related, so we related. So it's by default that it's a family reunion, so we might as well just go ahead and make it official. Yeah.
Absolutely. So back on kind of Sammy Lewis, you talk about wanting to learn more about him.
Yes.
Let's just kind of imagine with me. You're at home, you're making dinner, it's ready, you got it plated up, it's nice. There's a knock at your door. You open, you see Sammy Lewis. What do you talk to him about? What do you talk about over dinner?
What made you tick? Like, I need to see his mannerisms. I need to see his verbals, his nonverbals. I need to see how he squints his eyes. I need to see his smile. I want to see the texture of his hair. I want to see the texture of his skin. I want to look at his hands. And I want to see all that. I want to take his shoes off. I want to see his feet. I want to see all that, because all that intel would tell me a lot. And when he speaks, I want to hear how he speaks. I want to see how he enunciates his words. I want to hear his diction. I want to hear everything, so I can gather as much information as possible before I, and then we can go into the other stuff. You know what I mean? So that's what I would like to see. Who I want to see what this man looks like. I want to see, and that would tell me a lot.
What would you want him to know about you?
That the work, see what you did. Yeah. See what you did. You see what you did. That that I always believe that the work, if you start a good work, it'll outlive you. If you start an effort, whatever you guys do, make sure that it outlives you. That he knows that his work is continue on. That that we see you, we hear you, and that your labor wasn't in vain. Even though you suffered, whatever you thought that you lost, you really didn't lose, in a sense, because that stuff still carries on. Whatever energy you put out, it doesn't. That's the energy, and then that's what he's seeing. He's seeing the energy, that he put out, the effort that he put out. He sees it in me. He sees it in his fourth generation grandchildren, and you see the spirit within him. That even though that we learn how to deal with adversity. So I just amazed at looking at my cousins and how they handled adversity and how they can that even though we grew up across the Atlantic from each other, just that linkage, and it's a whole bunch of us, and we're around. The beautiful thing is we're around the globe. So what I would tell them is see what you've done, because we're all around the globe now.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Doing wonderful things.
Yes. So I want to kind of talk about a story out of Smithsonian. Do you know, how would you want...
The story out of Smithsonian?
At the Smithsonian. So
what about it?
Can you tell me?
Is there a story?
The wood carving is already there. What story? There are a lot of family stories at the Smithsonian.
Uh-huh.
And is there a story associated with Red Bays, with their...
The distinctiveness with the wood carving?
With the wood carving, and just looking at, a lot of people want the stories at the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's already partially there in
Yeah.
the wood carving.
But just understanding the expression of the wood carving, man, that stuff comes all the way from Africa. You know what I'm saying? That stuff, and it's the style, the same style. Right. You look at some of the same style of carvings, man, it is so synonymous with the same style that came across the Atlantic. And so I think that's just a beautiful thing, and how that the artistry has continued on. Man, I find it very impressive. Just the style. I'm like, and even the style in which my cousins they carve. I can go to Carolina and still see that same style. Man, I love it. Just knowing that same style, they're totally different, but the DNA the DNA speaks.
So it's the carving that's already there at the Smithsonian. Does it talk about Red Bays, or just talk about Africans?
I don't know that piece. I do apologize. I don't know that piece, and it's something now you have sparked my curiosity as to what you're speaking of. So I need to gather and find out more information on that particular piece, especially when it comes down to wood carving. I love There's two things that I love. I love wood carving. I love stoneware. I love stoneware. Yes. Pottery. I'm fascinated with pottery. Anything that's made with the hands, the baskets, and the significance, especially with the baskets. That stuff that they're doing with their hand, that deserves a series of its own. There's a lot of stuff within the style of the basking, why they go this way. There's a lot of stuff that has to be harvested, information that has to be harvested. So I don't know, and it's really, how to say it? Oh, Lord, how to say this? I'm going to be polite. There are certain things, in especially with basket weaving, that sometimes in African American culture, it's intimate. Mm-hmm. It really is intimate. Even the work, that stuff is intimate. That stuff is really, it's just intimate. And how much do you share? How much do you expose to the world? So those are the questions that sometimes, because I know stuff that I'm just not going to tell you. I'm just not going to tell you. Just there's some intimate pieces to it, and sometimes I hear a little leakage, but there's a lot more stuff. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah. So like right now you see it, but sometimes there's a little bit more layers to it that has its own study, that has its own how to say it. There is a dissertation waiting to be done, if need be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if you have an answer to this necessarily, but this just occurred to me. I'm curious how the Angola Festival is received here in Bradenton by the people who live here.
It's growing. The reception is growing, and like I said, the more publicity. And I know Daphne, this thing is going to be huge, because I know when Daphne adds the concert to it next year, speaking into existence, and we actually get the local artists involved, get the folk singers involved, You know, and let it be a grassroots type of concert. Oh, this thing is gonna take off.
Oh yeah.
This thing is gonna be bananas.
Yeah. So
it's gonna look like Woodstock. I'm serious. It's gonna look. It's gonna be crazy.
for the people who just live around here, you know, your snowbirds and your retirees
it's gonna look like Woodstock.
who have never heard of this history, are they coming out to this? Are they learning something from this?
Yeah. That's one of the things I love. I love when I see people from out of town, especially snowbirds. When you see them come through, and it's we just heard about it. That's awesome. You know what I mean? So I hope that we get a lot of that. And that even to the point that it becomes a little must-do for the snowbirds, that they pass through that weekend and take on that festival under the theme of Angola and understanding why we're there, why we're doing this on that particular ground.
Excellent.
Question, going back to the work that you've done, I know you mentioned that you worked also on studying about plantations and cemeteries. Is that all like local, regional, or at what level do you?
Southeast. I'm fascinated with the Southeast. I'm fascinated with the Southeast. Mississippi, Alabama, Carolina, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida. Georgia. I'm fascinated with the South and the role of the South. You already said the 19th century stuff. I'm fascinated. I just fell in love with it and understanding that, and just overall, and adding to the quilt of America.
Yeah, that was my next question. Like learning about all these pieces together, you know, you're learning cemeteries, plantations, Angola, history. How does this all connect, and what connections have you developed over time with all the knowledge that you have obtained?
Putting everything in proper context.
In context. What's the importance of context?
Context tells the story and tells the story, you know, in the most accurate way that you possibly can, and establishing that timeline as much as you possibly can, and understanding that within that timeline. And how everything you piece together in that timeline, so you can put in all the components and adding the nuance, adding the political piece, the economical piece, all the sociology that was taking place, but all the sciences that are associated with that, you know. So that's why you want to have everything in context, so we get the macro and micro.
Thank you.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, just say thank you for you guys taking time out and actually doing this work. Thank you to everyone that decided to take on this project. It really means a lot. Thank you for the Park Services for even taking interest in this. And I know what you guys, once you guys get something, y'all go with it. I already know. So hopefully, I want to see y'all do y'all thing. As we say, I want to see y'all do y'all thing.
Absolutely.
But thank you. But thank you for taking time out to interview me, I guess, to tell my story.
Yeah.
So hopefully my grandkids will see what their grandpa did, and you know, so this is my piece. So hopefully, it once you guys put it out digitally, they'll be able to see it. And that's it. So I did my role in the universe.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
We'll be back next year for sure.
All right, thanks. Awesome.
So-